this first hole is kind of a tricky start. The fairway only extends 250 yards. You have a bunker on the right at 210. I usually try to hit dead at that tree with an easy driver and end up right behind it. However, into this 12-mile-an-hour wind, I ended up being very short right behind that bunker and was fortunate not to go into it. I wanted to show you guys my full pre-shot routine. So I choke up on my club, take a few little swings to loosen up my wrist. Then I take a couple of belt tie swings to kind of get my hips turning. And then I take a full practice swing. After I finish doing that, I back up to the ball, pick out my target line, and then pick a little piece of grass, maybe a foot or two in front of the ball, and then aim exactly at that piece of grass. This has helped me. I feel like it's very good to have a pre-shot routine, especially later in the round when you start getting tired. The routine just helps out. So I hit 5-iron, and into this wind, it was nowhere near enough. It was about 5 yards more than the distance, and I probably needed to hit a 4-iron. So the wind ate up my 5-iron, and I had 32 yards to the pin, so I hit a pitch shot with my 54. It wasn't a very good pitch shot, and I landed like 14 feet short. And I was also on like an upslope, and I probably should have hit a 52 or maybe even a little pitch and wedge. But anyway, so I had a fairly long putt on the first hole, and just kind of let it leak out to the right a little bit, but had the right speed. So with that bunker on the left, being 250 out and being dead into this wind, I didn't feel like I could reach it, so I just hit driver. So 164 into this crosswind, I just hit a 6-iron, pretty much stock distance for a 6-iron for me. Just came out a little bit low. Shot number 2, had a little bit of an uphill lie, just left my ball position in the same spot. I probably should have moved it back just a little bit, so I struck it cleaner. But anyway, not a bad result, just off the fringe. So this chip was 17 paces. I always try to pace off my chips so I know exactly how far I have to carry the ball and how much to roll out. It's definitely a good practice. So what I didn't realize is that my greenside camera had a power saving mode where it would automatically shut off after 1 minute. And I didn't figure this out until the back 9. So a lot of my front 9 greenside videos are going to be from long range or non-existent because I didn't understand how to use the camera. So please bear with me on this video. So easiest par 5 on the golf course. Just hit driver, put it in the fairway. If you hit a good one, you can go for it in 2. And the wind's blowing hard to the right, so I aim just a hair down the left-hand side on this shot. I had a little less than 250 yards to the hole, and I figure the green is left to right, the wind is blowing left to right. Off this lie, my shot shape is going to be left to right, so I decided I would go for it, and if I landed in the bunker, that would be fine. But I hit this big monster slice that fortunately was short of the bunkers and everything. I had a really good lie in this rough, and this is pretty much a stock 60-degree wedge for me, so I just took a full shot. So I just hit the best wedge shot that I think I've hit in a week, maybe 2 weeks, and I'm about to show it to you, so it'll be my first birdie of the day. think that's a gimme. I was into the wind again on this little short par 4, and there are bunkers around 240 to 260 on the left-hand side of the fairway. So I just aimed just right of the rightmost bunker, and just tried to give it a rip. Unfortunately, I kind of hit a weak slice off to the right and didn't turn out to be the best shot. On this shot, I had 150 yards exactly to the pin. A little bit of a into the wind shot, but decided to go ahead and hit 7-iron. And as you can see, I'm up on the ball's a little bit above my feet, and I don't think I really took that into account and ended up hitting this big draw. So I was 150 into the wind, and I was in that rough, so I took a 7-iron and I pulled it, and I ended up about pin high. But over here to the left. So I have about 31 yards left to the pin. So I am going to hit a little 56 pitch. I had a really good lie over there in the rough, and I chose to hit a 56 pitch, which is pretty much exactly 30 yards for me, and it turned out really well. For this shot, I was with the wind, so I ended up hitting a 6-iron, even though it was 184, and from my previous experiences on 1 and 2, I figured a 6-iron would be the perfect club. So pretty good shot into this par 3, especially considering the wind and everything else. So it looks like maybe I have about 30 feet or so. A pretty good shot into this green considering the wind and everything. I ended up missing the birdie putt about 4 feet left and then made the 4-footer for par. With the wind pretty much blowing right to left and that bunker being on the right hand side, I just aimed down the middle and figure I would just rip driver, and if anything it would blow my ball to the left, but I ended up hitting a really straight drive and my best drive of the day to this point. I did not go for this green in 2. I just laid up with a 4-iron, and I will show you why in a second. So as you can see, the green is tucked behind this little pond right here, and the green even slopes down to the pond, so if you miss anything short or you hit the left side of the green, it rolls in that pond. So I laid up to 57 yards with the 4-iron, and instead of trying to figure out the wind, I decided to just hit a little pitch and wedge pitch shot, try to carry it like 55 yards and let it roll out. Unfortunately, the battery on my camera died right as I was about to hit the shot, so I can't show it to you. So I ended up with a pretty good pitch shot. It released a little bit more than I thought, and I ended up being 9 feet away from the hole. I missed my birdie putt about a couple of feet to the right and then ended up tapping in for par. Short par 3, you have to carry a bunch of water to get to the green, bunkers left and right of the green. I didn't want to mess with the water, and I didn't want to have to figure out the wind, so I just hit a little choked up, knocked down 9-iron, and it turned out to be pretty good. In situations like this where there's a ton of trouble, I always try to go with a shot that I know I can count on, and I knew I could hit that little knockdown shot, and it turned out to be one of the best par 3 tee shots I've had in a while. I would say that's a gimme. This is a drivable par 4 at 304. A lot of people go for it, but I usually just hit 3-wood and try to get over the fairway bunkers. However, I hit my worst drive of the day, that big slice. My ball was buried in that rough, and I didn't want to take a full shot out of it, so once again I just took a 9-iron and hit a pitch shot with it, hoping to land about 10 yards short on the green and let it run up to the pin. So that pitch shot came out pretty good. I struck it well. So that pitch shot ended up coming out really well out of that rough. It landed right on the front of the green and then ran all the way up over this ridge and off to the side of the green. So I ended up having about a 12-foot putt for a birdie, and I read it well and I struck it well, but it had just a little bit too much speed, so it lipped out to a couple of feet, and then I tapped in for par. I putted really well on this front nine, and as the greens firmed up with the heat, I just didn't account for the speed quick enough on some of these putts. This is the hardest hole on this course. You have water all down the right hand side, you have a swamp on the left hand side that's very reachable, and you're hitting across the fairway. So you absolutely must find the fairway on this hole. Um, on this particular shot, I usually aim at this right tree and then try to set up for a draw and hit a draw. And on this particular shot, I actually drew it a little too much, and I thought it went into that tree. However, I went over the tree and got about another 20 yards of roll and ended up hitting my best drive of the day for 318 yards. This is just a straightforward full gap wedge right at the pin. Hit that little wedge perfect, and I think I have about 4 or 5 feet from the hole. So let's see if we can't make a birdie. So I had like 5 or 6 feet for birdie. Probably the best birdie look I've ever had on this hole. I've never birdied it, and so I lined my putt up, and I had perfect line. However, I hit it a little too firm, and it ended up lipping out to about 3 feet, and I tapped in the 3-footer for par. It was super disappointing because I've only even parred this hole a few times. It's pretty tough, and I really wanted to finish the front nine with a birdie and be 2 under headed into the back nine. To wrap up the front nine, it ended up being one of the better front nines that I've had all year. I finished at 1 under. I bogeyed the first hole and then had the 2 birdies. I missed a couple of fairways and I only hit 4 of 9 greens, but my 3 pitches were pretty good, all except for on the first hole. My chips were really good, and I ended up with only 13 putts. It just goes to show you that the better your short game is, the lower your scores are going to be. Plus, I didn't lose a ball, and I played really good strategy on this front nine. Guys, if you like my video, please subscribe. Part 2 will be coming soon. I will probably release it in 5 days to a week. I really hope you liked the video. I tried to give as much detail as possible on the strategy, what I was thinking, how the holes were laid out, and the trouble that was associated with them. If there are things you want me to add to the video or things you think I need to change or take away, please leave me a comment on YouTube or send me a message on Instagram. Thank you for watching.